Alright, so this lesson, we're going to write the slope-intercept form from a graph, given the slope and y-intercept, given a point, any slope, or given 2 points. Alright, so a couple different ways we're going to do this. So write the slope-intercept form of the line passing through the 2 points. So first, I'm going to give you a graph. Somebody please remind me, what is my slope-intercept form? What is my slope-intercept form?
The point on the y-axis.
The slope-intercept form. What's that equation look like?
Y equals mx plus b.
Y equals mx plus b. Alright, so there's 2 things I need to plug in for. M and b. So we're plugging in for the m and the b. Once I know what my slope and my y-intercept are, that's it. It becomes that easy. So let's get our first point easy. B. What is b? What does the b stand for again? What is it? Go ahead. It's -3, right? So the y-intercept. So just the point on the y-axis. What is this coordinate? 0, -3. So the b is just -3. I don't need the 0. All I want is the -3. M. So M requires a little bit more work to find this, but let's find it.
You did it for the first 45 minutes of today.
So how do I get from this point to this point? And notice, the points I choose on the graph are always right at the perfect intersection of the graph, okay? I don't want a point that's a little to the right of it. I want a perfect integer. It makes it that much easier to find the slope. So how do I get from this point to that point? I'm going to rise. How many units am I going to rise? I'm going to rise 4. So there's my numerator. So +4 in my numerator. And how many units am I going to run? And I'm going to run 1. So there's my +1 in my denominator. So 4 over 1, we could simplify this, and we could just call 4 over 1 4. Beautiful. So now let's write my equation. Y equals, my m is now my 4x. My b is now my -3.
So the equation for that line is going to be y equals 4x minus 3.
And you're done. Let's try another one. So again, I'm going to start with my slope-intercept form. Y equals mx plus b. Again, we're going to substitute in for m, my slope, and b, my y-intercept. B is a nice, easy point to find. What is my y-intercept? What is my y-intercept?
4.
4. Thank you. So my y-intercept is 4, 0, b, and 4 is my y-intercept. Beautiful. Now let's find my slope, m. Again, take notice of your line. Your line is going in a downward direction. It's decreasing. So if your line is decreasing, it's telling me my slope must be what?
Negative.
Negative. I love it. So, what is my slope? How do I get from point A to point B here? What am I doing first?
-4.
Okay, so I'm going to go down 4, so -4 in my numerator, and then what am I doing? That brings me here. Now what am I doing? Which way am I going? To the right or left? Is that positive or negative? Positive. Now I'm going to the right 4, so I had to go down 4 first, and then my denominator is telling me to go +4. Always simplify your fraction once you get to this point. Simplify your slope. What's a negative divided by a positive? Negative. What's 4 divided by 4? So my slope is -1. So I can rewrite this as y equals -1x plus 4. I can make it look a little more fancy. How else can I rewrite this rather than -1x? But even better would be y equals -x plus 4 without that -1 there.
And just a little picky thing. Nobody's going to shoot you if you do this, but really when you...
All right, so again, we're going to write the slope-intercept form. Somebody again, please remind me, what is my slope-intercept form? What's my slope-intercept form? Y equals what?
mx plus b.
Love it. Mx plus b. What am I substituting in for? m and b. Beautiful. So I need my slope. I need my y-intercept. This line does not have points, so let's put 2 points on there that fall right at an intersection. Here's one. Here's a possible another one. Another one. Doesn't matter which ones you choose, okay? What is my y-intercept?
-2.
-2, love it. What is my slope? Which way is your line going? Is it increasing or decreasing? Increasing, so my slope must be positive. So what is my slope of this line?
It goes up 4.
It goes, okay, so if we're going from one point to the other, it goes up 4. So it goes up +4. And
It goes right 2.
it goes to the right 2. So +2 in my denominator. And +4 over +2 simplifies to 2. Beautiful, let's plug in. So y equals 2x. Okay, so this has plus b. Okay, remember this plus b could be plus minus -2, plus minus -2. I'm sorry, plus minus -2. But to make it a little nicer, rather than writing plus minus -2, we could just write what? Think about when you multiply. What's a positive times a negative? Negative. So this is the same thing as saying y equals 2x minus 2. Looks a little nicer. Try to get always one sign down. So our second examples are write the slope intercept form of a line given the slope and y-intercept. So this one's not very nice and easy. So again, our y equals mx plus b. But this time we actually are given the slope. We're given the y-intercept. We don't have to take it from the graph. Just plug in and we're good to go. So y equals what? What's my slope? 3/2. So 3/2 x. What's my y-intercept? +4 plus 4. So when you see a problem like that in the test, say thank you very much and get it correct. One more just like that. Write the slope intercept form of the line, given the slope and y-intercept again. Look at solve this one for me. Y equals what? Y equals, but
Negative x.
love it, negative x.
Negative x plus 1.
Plus 1. Beautiful. Not, you don't have to write negative 1x, just negative x. Negative x plus 1. All right? Here's our second one. And this one's going to be a little bit more challenging.
All right, this may be one of the hardest things for you to conceptualize in the first half again.
All right, so write the slope intercept form of the equation of the line. Again, we're going to start with our y equals mx plus b. We need a slope. We got m equals 5, and we need b. Is this coordinate here a y-intercept? Yes, no, and why not? Or why or why not? Is this a y-intercept? Is 2, 3 a y-intercept? If you need a second to graph it, graph it. What do you think?
Is that a point on the y-axis?
No.
No. Why is it not a point on the y-axis?
Because for 2 recording the y-axis, the second number, or the first, we have to be 0.
Very good. So in order for this to be a y-intercept, this must be 0. If this was 0, 3, beautiful. I got my b. My b will be 3. Home run, plug it in, I'm done. I do not have a y-intercept here. All I have is a coordinate. So my y-intercept is missing. So what we're going to do, this is just your coordinate, x and y. So let's think about what we could plug in for. Well, we have an x, we have a y,
What is the x that he's referring to right now?
and we have m.
He says we have an x. What is it?
What is the x coordinate? 2. What is the y coordinate?
3.
What is my m? 5. What is my b? I don't know. That's the part we're going to solve for. So let's plug in these variables. So we have 3 equals 5 times x. Remember, a number, two letters next to each other means multiplication. So 5 times x, which is 2, plus b. And now it just becomes a solving equation. So 3 equals 5 times 2, 10, plus b, one-step equation. How do I solve for b? Beautiful. I'm going to subtract 10 from both sides. And we get -7 equals b, or b equals -7. Beautiful. Now I have my b. Now I have my m. Now let's go back and write my standard form of my equation, y equals mx plus b. And let's plug in for my m. Let's plug in for my b. So we got y equals 5x minus 7. You don't have to do anything else with the two coordinates 2 and 3. They helped us find the b. They're done. Once I found my b, plug in the b, plug in your m, write your equation in slope-intercept form. All right, so we're going to look at the same problem again. We're going to go with our second option to solve this problem. Again, we need to write this in slope-intercept form. Y equals mx plus b. Again, I need my slope, m equals 5, and I need my b, which is unknown. This should be a b here. Yep. So my goal is to get into this equation. Looking at these coordinates, again, this is not a y-intercept. This is just a point. So if we think about the three forms that we have y equals mx plus b is one form of a linear line. Y minus y sub 1 equals m times the quantity x minus x sub 1 is another point, or another form of a linear line. This is the slope-intercept form. This is the point-slope form. Is this 0.23 a y-intercept? No. This is just a point. So if you only have a point and not a y-intercept, use your point-slope form. So in this case, let's look at this point-slope form. So y minus y sub 1 equals m times the quantity x minus x sub 1. Let's take these 2 points, 2, 3 for a second. This is my x sub 1. This is my y sub 1. Plug in for x sub 1. Plug in for y sub 1. And then finally plug in your 5 for m. So let's do that piece there. Let's substitute in for those values. So we have y minus y sub 1 is 3 equals 5 times the quantity x minus, and my x sub 1 is 2. All right, so that's all we did so far. We just plugged into the point-slope form.
That's the point-slope form of that equation. Now you want to get it to slope-intercept.
So there might be some questions. Write the point-slope form of this equation. They'll give you a point, they'll give you a slope, and that's it. It's that easy. Just plug in the points, plug in the slope, and you're done at that point. Okay, but if they ask you for the slope-intercept form, and they only give you a point, you could start with this form, and we're going to transform this form into the slope-intercept form very easily. 5 times the quantity x minus 2. Let's distribute in there. So we got y minus 3 equals, what's 5 times x?
5x.
5x. 5 times negative 2? Negative 10. Almost there. The only thing I need to do is get this negative 3 on the other side. How do I get this negative 3 on the other side?
Plus 3.
Add 3 to both sides. Plus 3. Plus 3. Y equals 5x. Negative 3 plus, negative 10 plus 3 is, call it a day. All right, so write the slope-intercept form, going through the points, -1, 5, and the slope of -1/2. So again, my ultimate goal is to get this into y equals mx plus b. I know what my m is. M is -1/2. I don't know what my b is, and that's what I need to solve for next. B is the variable in question. All right, so here it is. I have -1, 5. Question I'm going to ask myself, is this a y-intercept? Is it? No, it's not a y-intercept because my x-coordinate is not 0. If it was 0, 0, 5, I'd have a y-intercept, probably that much easier. So I don't have a y-intercept, I have a point, and I have a slope. I have a point, and I have a slope. I'm going to use my point-slope form. Y minus y sub 1 equals m times the quantity x minus x sub 1. Again, I'm going to plug in for x1, y1, and m. My x coordinates are right here. My x and y coordinate, and my x1 sub 1, x sub 1, y sub 1. Now notice, I'm always writing those coordinates on top. It's just force of habit, right? It kind of just gets my eyes or my I'm getting prepared to say, okay, these are my coordinates I need to plug in. The y stays the same. Y minus y sub 1 is 5 equals negative 1/2 times the quantity x minus, and this is where you have to be careful. This minus sign belongs to the formula. This minus sign belongs to the number. So x minus negative 1. Okay, so the first minus sign belongs to the formula here. The other minus sign belongs to the number negative 1, or the coordinate negative 1. So let's simplify this now. X minus negative 1 is the same thing as saying x plus 1, right? Two negatives make a positive.
Definitely make that move. Some of you weren't doing that when we were solving for the missing coordinate. It makes life easier.
Okay, so same step as before. I'm going to distribute in. So y minus 5 equals negative 1/2 times x is negative 1/2 x. Negative 1/2 times positive 1 is just negative 1/2. All right, so now we got some fractions here. All right, no big deal. I'm almost there. I just need this negative 5 on the right side, and we call it a day. Add 5 to both sides. Add 5 to both sides. So we have y equals negative 1/2 x. And again, I'm going to do this one on the side. What is negative 1/2 plus 5? If you can do this mentally, that's great. Or I could flip this and say, let's flip these two. What is 5 minus 1/2? 4.5. And let's turn 4.5 into an improper fraction. What is 4.5 as an improper fraction? Excellent. 4 times 2 plus 1, I get plus 9/2. So for these equations, we're going to write those as improper fractions. We're not really going to write these as mixed numbers. All right, so our last example is we're going to write the slope intercept form of an equation of a line going through 2 points. So again, my goal is to get y equals mx plus b. I don't know what m is here, and I don't know what b is here. All right, so I need to solve for both of them. I have 2 points. I can solve for my slope. Let's rewrite my slope formula. M equals y sub 2 minus y sub 1 over x sub 2 minus x sub 1. Force of habit, I'm going to label these. X sub 1, y sub 1. X sub 2, y sub 2. So when I go back and I substitute in, I know what goes where. Equals y sub 2, 5 minus y sub 1, negative 3, over x sub 2, negative 5, minus x sub 1, 2. 5 minus negative 3 is the same thing as saying 5 plus 3, or 8, over negative 5 minus 2, negative 7. To make this look a little nicer, I'm going to give the negative to the numerator. So I'm going to say this is negative 8/7, and we'll see why in a second. Okay? Looking at my two coordinates here. Ask myself, is this a y-intercept? No. Is this the one a y-intercept? No. Neither one of them having a 0 as my x-coordinate. All right, so I have two different points, and I have a slope now. So if I have a point and have a slope, I'm going to use my point-slope form. So y minus y sub 1 equals, bless you, m times the quantity x minus x sub 1. Plug in for y1, plug in for m, plug in for x1. Okay, when you substitute in, take your time. Make sure you write everything else. So y minus, doesn't matter which ones I'm choosing, I'm going to choose this one. Doesn't matter which point you choose, you'll get the same answer either way. All right? So y minus, y sub 1 is negative 3. Be careful. Make sure you put the negative sign with the other negative. One negative sign belongs to the formula, one negative sign belongs to the coordinate. Equals my slope, negative 8/7, times the quantity, x minus my x sub 1 now here is 2. So now I have the equation in point-slope form. If that's what they asked for, you would be done. They're asking for slope-intercept form. So let's transform this into slope-intercept form. I'm going to make my two positives, my two negatives become a positive here, and I'm going to distribute. So I have y plus 3 equals negative 8/7 x, and this is negative 8/7. I'm going to do this one on the side, so negative 8/7 times negative 2/1. Bring the sign with you. A negative times a negative is a positive. There's my plus. There's nothing that can simplify. 8 times 2 is 16. 7 times 1 is 7. So this is 16 over 7. Almost there. I don't want this positive 3 there. I want this positive 3 on the other side. How do I get this plus 3 on the other side of the equation? Let's do the opposite, which we're going to,
Subtract.
beautiful, subtract 3. Subtract 3 from both sides. Y equals negative 8 over 7 x. And now let's figure out what this one is for a second. So I got 16 over 7 minus 3 over 1. Common denominator here is going to be 7. Good. So 16 over 7 minus, what's my fraction here? Bless you. 21 over 7. Good. Multiplying this by 7. Multiplying this by 7. So now I have 16 over 7 minus 21 over 7. Keep your denominator. What's 16 minus 21? Negative 5. So minus 5 over 7. Okay, now let's take a look at our last example. Again, write the slope of the slope-intercept form with the equation of a line going through the 2 points 3, negative 2, 0, negative 1. So again, my goal is to get into y equals mx plus b, which is my slope-intercept form. Questions I want to ask myself: do I have a slope? I do not. Do I have a y-intercept? Okay, so even though I'm given 2 points here, pay close attention. Is 3, negative 2 a y-intercept? Well, the x-coordinate is not 0, so it's not. Is 0, negative 1 a y-intercept? In this case, yes, we have a y-intercept here. We have the 0 where we need it. So my y-intercept is negative 1. So we partly done. So all we need now is just a slope. So let's use our slope form, or our slope formula. M equals y sub 2 minus y sub 1 over x sub 2 minus x sub 1. And I'm going to label both my coordinates x1, y1, and I have x2, y2 here, and plugging in. So let's plug in. I got negative 1 minus negative 2. Be careful. The minus sign belongs to the formula. The other minus sign belongs to the coordinate. And then I have 0 minus 3. 2 negatives make a positive here. So negative 1 plus 2 is 1. 0 minus 3 is negative 3. So my slope here is equal to negative 1/3. Alright, so halfway there. So now I have my slope. I have my y-intercept. Now my last part, just plug in. So y equals negative 1/3 x minus 1, and you are done.